Hello, this is Mike Smith. Welcome back to another tutorial in Maya. Now this time I've had quite a lot of requests on how to merge a square object or a rectangular object into a round one without having any sharp edges or obvious joints here. Now it's easy to do if you plan it carefully. Now in this case both objects are in the center of the X and the Z axis. So if I move this cylinder down, you'll see they line up perfectly. So it lines up first of all. And now if we look at our divisions, the square obviously has 4 edges or 4 faces going around that. The cylinder by default has 20. Now 20 going into 4 works mathematically, but it can be quite tricky in this case, so I'm going to reduce that down to 8. So like before, go into your channel box, click on polycylinder 1, subdivisions axis 20 can go down to 8. 8 going into 4 is a lot easier. Now we can look at the divisions of our cube. It's easier to split this up if I go 2 wide and 2 deep all the way around. So go back into your channel box, polycube 1, and subdivisions width and depth can be changed to 2. So now, if we look around the top of this, there are 8 separate edges. So we've got 8 edges going into 8 edges of the cylinder. Now, we're going to merge both of these together or combine them together. So select both by holding shift, and we can now go into mesh and combine. Now that makes these one object. When I select that, it's just one. We can still go back. We could simply go to mesh and separate and they become 2 separate objects again, but I need to leave them combined for this. Now all we need to do is delete the faces off the top of the cube and the bottom of the cylinder, so there won't be any hidden faces once this is connected. So I'm going to go to my select tool, right click and go to face mode and select these 4 faces by holding shift and selecting them. Press backspace to delete, and then we'll do the same on the bottom of our cylinder. Hold shift and select all of those. Be sure not to select anything else that you don't want, and then backspace to delete. Now we can actually merge some of these together. Now instead of just merging that straight onto here, we're going to extrude this cube up a little bit. So go to edge by right clicking edge mode, double click on one of these edges at the top to select the entire circumference, and now we can actually extrude that. Make sure you keep faces together. Extrude, go to global. If I rotate around a little bit, you'll see the icon just outside of your extrude tool. Click on that and pull that up slightly. Don't go right up because we need to see this gap so we can actually merge this together. Now if I go back to my select tool, it's as easy as going into edit mesh, and then towards the bottom you've got a merge vertex tool. When we click on that, you'll see your vertices highlighted as a small pink dot, and every edge that meets another edge, so wherever there's 2 or more edges you have a vertex. And now we can just drag one of these up onto our cylinder and work our way round to actually merge that together. So just take your time, don't rush it. If you rush it, you could make a mistake and you'll end up having to go back and do it again. So once that's done, we have that merged together. It doesn't look fantastic yet because we haven't smoothed our object. Now I'm going to go back to my select tool, and I'm actually going to delete the top and the bottom of these objects as well. just to show you exactly what it will look like once we smooth it. So go ahead and select those faces, delete those, and the ones underneath as well. We can delete those. So we have a hollow tube that's going from round to square. Now you'll find when we smooth that, if I go ahead and press 3, it's nice and round at the top, but you'll find the bottom has become a bit too round. It doesn't really look that square anymore. Now, you may be thinking you can use the edge loop tool here. If you do, you'll see what happens. So if I go to Edit Mesh, Insert Edge Loop Tool, and if I add one in here, or maybe 2 in on here for this corner, it will constrain this corner, so when it's smoothed, go back to your Select tool, when it's smoothed it will look quite sharp, so you've made sure that's sharp there. However, you will have distorted the very top of your cylinder there, because that edge loop goes right up to the top. So we need to think a bit differently here. I'm just going to press Z to undo that. Press 1 to unsmooth it again. Now we need to really have a division close to this corner on both sides that doesn't go right up to the top. Now you could simply put an edge just along here. The problem there is if it stops, you end up with a face that has more than 4 edges, and you want to make sure everything's got 4 or everything is quads. So what we could do is delete one of these edges. So right click, go to Edge Mode. If I delete this edge here, I can manually put in some of my own. Now you'll find when you delete an edge, there will still be 2 separate edges at the bottom here. If I zoom into the bottom, you'll see there's 2, and if I actually go onto Vertex Mode, we have a vertex in the middle. Now remember that when you delete an edge, the vertex won't be deleted, but we want to keep this one, and you'll see why shortly. Go back onto Object Mode. Now I want to put an edge from near this corner connecting up to this central part here. And we can do that by going onto Object Mode, hold Shift, right click, go onto Split, and then Split Polygon tool. And the Split Polygon tool is similar to the interactive split tool you would have seen me use in previous tutorials, but you have a bit more control with this one. It's a bit more manual. So all I have to do is click and hold the button of the mouse in on this horizontal edge, and you'll see I have a vertex there. Now I've still got my finger on the mouse, and you'll find it will actually snap onto a vertex. Make sure it snaps on there, then let go of the mouse, and I can click and drag on this bottom edge. Click and drag there, and you want it not snapped onto the corner, but just next to it. And then press Enter once you've actually let go of the mouse. Repeat the same again for the other side. So go back to the same tool, hold Shift, right click, Split Polygon tool. Click and drag on this edge, make sure it snaps, let go of the mouse. Click and drag on the bottom, make sure it doesn't snap to the corner, leave yourself a gap. Let go of the mouse and press Enter. And now if we look carefully at these faces, this triangular one here still has 4 edges. We've got 1, 2, a small one at the bottom there, 3, and then 4 on the side. And this middle part that looks like a triangle, remember we had that vertex in the center. That means there's 2 edges at the bottom, and then a 3rd and a 4th here. So everything is still quads. And if we repeat that all the way around, I'll go ahead and do these ones a little bit quicker just so you can see the results. So select the edge, delete. Object Mode, select the object, hold Shift, right click, split Polygon tool, make sure it snaps, leave yourself a gap at the bottom, press enter. And for speed, if you press G on the keyboard, it brings up the last tool you had. Okay, I'll quickly go ahead and do the last two sides. Make sure that snaps, make sure you leave yourself a gap at the bottom. Press enter once you're done. G to bring the tool back up again. And the last one, delete the edge. Object Mode, split Polygon tool, G to bring the tool back up. And now we have the same all the way around. If I now go ahead and smooth that by pressing 3, the bottom of our object stays quite sharp. It stays as an actual square. Everything's still quads because we have that vertex in the center. And we have a nice smooth transition going into a round object. If I turn off the wireframe, you'll see this a bit better. So go to shading, wireframe on shaded off, and you have a nice square object going into a round one. You can now extrude from that if you want to. So unsmooth it, and you can still extrude from here and actually make yourself a whole new section. And where we had that vertex in the middle, it's made sure we've got that edge still there. Okay, so plan ahead, keep it simple, keep practicing and learn something new.